everyone, my name is Julia and today I will be teaching you how to make a diamond friendship bracelet. So to start off you will need 3 colors. I have brown, maroon, and a purple pink color. And so you want to get 4 strings of each color, so you will have 12 strings total. Make sure each string is from your fingertips to the middle of your chest length. Okay, now that we have all of our strings, you tie a knot at the top and tape it down. So this bracelet has a pattern that we are going to read today. Here's the pattern, and this is the bracelet and what it will look like when we are all done. So if you are not familiar with reading these patterns, then I will go through it with you. So basically we are going to read these from left to right, top to bottom, and each row is numbered. So the letters and strings at the top tell you how to start your bracelet and what order to put the strings. So we have A color, B color, and C color. So you want to make sure that each of your colors is A, B, and C. I will have my A be purple, so I will put that on the outside. B will be my magenta, and C will be my brown. So on the pattern it says the string should be laid out A, B, C, C, B, A, A, B, C, C, B, A. So we will set them out just like that. Okay, now that we have them all laid out, we are going to start with our first knot. So, each of these circles has a different color, and then a string that goes underneath the circle. So the color of the circle is the color string that is going to be shown when we do the knot. And then the arrow, whichever direction the arrow is pointing, will signify if we do a forward knot, which is the 4, and we will go over that, or if you do a backwards knot, such as over here. And later down we will do some knots that are forward and backward forward, but we'll get to that later. So we start with row 1, and the first knot is with our first A and B string. So we will take those 2, and we will do a forward knot, which actually means 2. Every time you do a knot, there are 2 knots. So we will do 2 forward knots, A color. So a forward knot is when you make a 4, the number 4, and then you pull it through. So we're going to do 2 of those. Now once you are done with these 2 strings, just set them aside. And so now the next knot is right here, and it is between the 2 C strings. So C is our brown, and we are going to have one of the C strings go over the other. and then set them aside. You want to make sure that your knots at the very beginning of the bracelet are super tight so that the bracelet doesn't start too far down from the knot. Okay, so our third knot is going to be between the second B string and the second A string. And this time the B color is going to be on top. So we're going to do 2 forward knots. And the next knot, we are going to do 2 backwards knots, and I'll show you what the backwards knot is. So you want to have your B string on top, this one. Okay, so we're going to make a backwards 4. See how the 4 is backwards? This would be a forwards knot, because it makes the number 4 that you can read, but this is a backwards 4. So we are going to make the backwards 4 and do a knot and do another one. Then once we're done with those, set them aside. And our next knot is between the 2 C's again, and this time it's going to be 2 backwards knots. Okay, and our last knot of this row is going to be with the last B and A strings, and it's going to be 2 backwards knots with the A color on top. Okay, and then bring them all back. Sometimes I like to write down which colors are my A, B, and C, so I'm going to do that right now. So A is my purple, B is my magenta, and C is my brown. This way I won't forget, because the colors on the chart are different than the actual colors I'm using. Okay, so on to our second row. So this right here, when there's a string but with no knot, it means that we're leaving this string out of this row. So we're going to take the B string and set it aside, and then we're going to take the A and C and do a knot with the A color in front. So I'll show you what that means. We're going to take the B color and set it aside, and then we have A and C, and we are going to do 2. The next knot is with the other C and A. Sometimes it can be really tricky to figure out which string is next, so I just kind of like flatten it out and just try and figure out what string is next. So we go back to here, and the next knot is going to be the 2 B's, but this string is going to be on top since we are doing 2 backwards knots. Okay, next knot is 2 backwards knots with C over A. And then the last knot of this row is 2 backwards knots with the A over C, and we leave out the B. And don't get discouraged if it doesn't look exactly like the pattern right away. It's going to take some time. Okay, now on to the third row. So the third row, we're using our B color again, and we're doing 2 forward knots on top of the C color. Okay, and now we have the 2 A's, 2 A colors, and we're doing 2 forward knots. Now after that, on the third row, we have a C color and the next B. And we're doing 2 forward knots. And then doing the same thing but with backwards knots for the next knot. So the C and B, but the C color is on top. Now the next knot we have is 2 A colors doing 2 backwards knots. And then with the last 2 strings, you want to do 2 backwards knots with the B color on top. Okay, now row 4. So for row 4, you leave the first string out, which would be a C color, and now we do 2 forward knots with a B and A colors. Okay, now 2 forward knots with an A and B with A on the top this time. And now we're going to do the 2 C's right in the middle, and we're going to do 2 backwards knots. Okay, then after that you're going to do 2 backwards knots with an A and B with A on the top. Okay, so I have gone ahead and done the next rows. I've done 5, 6, and 7, and now I'm going to show you the 8th row. So if you have the pattern at home, the 6th row is just 2 forward and 3 backward, and then 3 forward, 3 backward. And now we're going to do the 8th row. So as you can see here, there is a bent arrow. So what this means is we're going to do 1 forward knot in this direction and then 1 backward knot in that direction. So we're going to leave out the B color and do this knot with the A and C. So right here, we're leaving out B, and we have A and C. So the A color is going to be the one on top. So you do a forwards knot. And usually we would do 2 forwards knots. But since we're doing a forward and back, we're just going to do 1. And now we bring it on the other side and make a backwards 4 and pull it through. And now we're all done with those. So then the next thing we're going to do is a forwards and backwards knot again, but this time with the next C and the next A. So we have C and A again, but this time the C color is going to be on top right here. So we're going to do a forwards knot, and then a backwards knot. And now for these 2 A colors in the middle, it is a regular backwards knot, so 2 backwards knots. And now if we look on here, the arrows are going the opposite direction. So it's a backwards knot and then a forwards knot. And we're going to do the same thing. So C color on top and then the A color on top. So we have C and A, the C color is going to be on top, so we do a backwards 4, and then a forwards 4. And then the next 2, and the A color is going to be on top, so you do a backwards 4, and then a forwards, and then this one is left out. So you should be able to see the pattern now with your bracelet. So it makes like a V, and then the row that we just did is where the X forms. So this is the X and where it starts to go the other direction. So from then on, it's basically just doing 2 forwards knots or 2 backwards knots until the very end. So I will do the rest of the rows, and you guys can read the different knots. Just remember to read left to right, and then go to the next row, and then I'll show you the last row at the very bottom. So by the time you get to this point where you're doing the reverse triangle with them going this way, it might be hard to keep the knots really tight, so you want to pull them like really far up like that so that they don't end up falling apart, so there's lots of spaces. And by the time you get to the end of the pattern and start doing the pattern again, it'll go back to normal, but you just have to make sure to do really tight knots. Okay, we have now gotten to the last row of the pattern. So I did all the way from 9 down to 15, and now we're going to do 16. So we leave out A, and we do a forwards then backwards knot with B and C. And now the next thing is another backwards and forwards with C and B, but this time the B color is on top. And then in the middle we have 2 backwards knots with the A, and like I said before, this is really tricky because as you can see the strings are pretty far apart, but we're going to just do it really tight. That's why you have to have this taped down really well so that it doesn't pull out. So you're just gonna pull it, and it's okay if this folds, if it like bunches up a little bit, because afterwards you can smooth it out. So we're just gonna do it really tight right there. And now we're gonna do a forwards and backwards knot. And then another forwards and backwards with the C color on top. And there you go. That is the first pattern of the diamond bracelet. And so then you would just start again at the top. So all of your strings should be in this order again. The A, B, C, C, B, A, B, C, C, B, A, which and then you would just start again with row 1. And if it doesn't look absolutely perfect your first try, it is totally okay. Practice makes better. So just keep practicing, and you have a bunch of times to practice it as you go down the bracelet. So don't be discouraged if this first time we tried it, it didn't come out the way that you wanted. Just keep doing it over and over. And I'll show you one that I have made before. So this is what it will look like in the end. So good luck making the rest of the patterns, and thank you for watching this video. I hope you have lots of fun making the diamond bracelet.